Men, I want to start with a question that might hit you harder than anything you've heard in years. When was the last time you woke up with a strong, solid erection? An erection you were proud of, one that reminded you that you're still a man with power, desire, and life in your veins? Not soft, not fading halfway through, not disappearing when the moment matters, but a real, confident, full erection. If you can't remember, if it's been weeks, months, or maybe even years, then what I'm about to say may shake you to your core. Because nothing steals a man's dignity faster than looking down and seeing nothing happen when everything inside you wants to feel alive again. I have watched grown men in their 60s and 70s, men who have built businesses, raised families, survived hardship, sit in my office with tears in their eyes, whispering that they feel like they've failed, like they are trapped inside a body that no longer listens. Some stop trying, some avoid intimacy, some pretend they don't care, but deep down, they miss the feeling of strength. They miss their wives reaching for them. They miss themselves. Here is the paradox. The solution many men are searching for doesn't come from a pill, a prescription, or another humiliating appointment. It comes from two simple ingredients sitting in your kitchen right now. Ingredients that can restore blood flow rapidly and help your little guy wake up in as little as 24 hours. Blend olive oil with baking soda. Apply it correctly, and watch what happens. My name is Dr. Mohit Kara, urologist with over 30 years of experience, and today I will show you exactly how and why this works. Stay with me. Your life is about to change. Before we go any further, if this message is speaking to you even a little, if you're tired of feeling helpless and you're ready to take your strength back, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another life-changing lesson designed specifically for men over 60. And tell me in the comments. Type 1 if you're ready to wake up your little guy again, or type 0 if you still have doubts and want me to explain more clearly. All right, let's get into the truth behind why your erections faded and why it has nothing to do with age. 1. Why your erections fade after 60. The real cause. Let me start with something that might shock you. The reason your erections have weakened is not because you're old, not because your body is failing, and not because your desire has vanished. The real reason is something far more specific, far more physical, and far more reversible than most men are ever told. If you've been blaming yourself, believing you've crossed some invisible line where life and intimacy are supposed to slow down, I need you to stop right now. Because the truth is, there is absolutely nothing wrong with your masculinity. What's failing you is not your manhood, it's your circulation. Inside your penis are microscopic arteries so thin that even a grain of salt is thicker. These tiny vessels once opened effortlessly, flooding the erectile chambers with blood the moment your body signaled desire. That pressure, that fullness, that surge of heat, that was your body working exactly as it should. But over years of stress, inflammation, blood pressure medications, high blood sugar, processed foods, smoking, or simply the wear of time, those arteries begin to narrow. They stiffen. They become inflamed. The smooth muscle around them becomes less responsive. And suddenly, the signal that once created an instant response now gets lost along the way. The mind wants it. The heart wants it. The body remembers it. But the blood cannot get there fast enough to make it happen. That is why erections fade. It is not lack of testosterone, although many doctors stop there. It is not lack of desire, though many men feel ashamed as if they've lost interest. It is not age itself, because there are men in their 80s still experiencing strong, natural erections. It is a problem of blood flow, pure and simple. And blood flow can be restored. When you understand that, something shifts inside of you. Because suddenly, the story is no longer over. The chapter is not finished. Your body is not done. If you've ever stared at yourself in the mirror and wondered, is this the beginning of the end? If you've ever avoided intimacy because you couldn't bear the thought of disappointing the woman you love. If you've ever felt the ache of wanting everything to work again, even just once more, then listen closely. The solution begins not with a pill, but with waking up those tiny arteries again and teaching them how to open like they used to. And the surprising part is that this awakening can happen faster than you think. In fact, some men begin to feel the difference in as little as 24 hours. Which leads us to something few people would ever believe until they try it: the unexpected power of olive oil and baking soda. Let me show you why this simple combination can change everything. 2. The emotional toll of losing erection strength. Here's the part no one wants to talk about, yet every man silently fears. Losing the ability to get a strong erection does not just happen in the bedroom, it invades every corner of your life. It changes the way you see yourself, the way you stand, the way you breathe. And it happens quietly, like a thief in the night, stealing pieces of your confidence until one day you wake up and barely recognize the man looking back at you in the mirror. People say it's normal, that it's just what happens with age, that you should accept it and move on, but they don't understand the weight of it. They don't understand the moment when you reach for the woman you love and hope, really hope, and nothing happens. They don't understand the quiet humiliation of pretending you are tired or stressed or not interested, just so you don't have to face that crushing moment of failure again. They don't see the way your heart sinks when she rolls over, trying to hide her disappointment, pretending it's not a big deal. They don't hear the silence that fills the room like a wall between two people who once couldn't keep their hands off each other. Some men tell themselves they're fine. They bury the shame under work, under distraction, under whiskey, under jokes. But deep down, there is a grief that is hard to describe, a grief for the man they used to be, a grief for closeness lost, a grief for the version of themselves that felt wanted, powerful, and capable. I have seen men carry that burden alone for years, men who served in war, men who built homes with their bare hands, men who raised families and never once complained. Yet this one thing breaks them. Because losing your erection is not just losing function. It feels like losing identity. It feels like being erased. And here is the painful truth most men never say out loud. The hardest part isn't the physical failure. It's watching the person you love lie beside you in silence, wondering if she feels unwanted, wondering if she's questioning herself, wondering if she thinks it's her fault. The distance that grows between two bodies can become a distance between two hearts. And that distance can destroy relationships, marriages, and the spirit of a man who once felt unshakable. But if you're listening to this right now, I want you to know something profoundly important. All of that pain is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of the comeback. Because what if I told you that the solution isn't complicated, isn't expensive, and isn't months away? What if the first spark of change could happen in less than a day? Let's talk about the science behind the 2 ingredients that can begin restoring your strength faster than you ever imagined. It may sound unbelievable at first, but stay with me. This is where everything starts to open up. 3. The science behind olive oil. What if I told you that one of the most powerful natural tools for restoring erections is something sitting quietly in your kitchen right now, something so ordinary you'd never expect it could change your life? This may sound unbelievable, but extra virgin olive oil contains compounds that can do what many prescriptions fail to achieve: reopen the tiny blood vessels inside the penis that determine whether your erection is weak and unreliable or strong, full, and unshakable. Most men assume they need a blue pill, a costly treatment, or a risky procedure. But the truth is that nature designed something far more elegant and far more effective than most people ever realize. Olive oil is rich in polyphenols, powerful molecules that fight inflammation and protect the lining of your blood vessels. Every erection begins in the endothelium, the delicate inner layer of your arteries. When it is healthy, it produces nitric oxide, the chemical signal that tells your blood vessels to expand instantly, allowing blood to rush in, creating firmness and pressure. When it becomes damaged from stress, poor diet, medication, or aging, the signal weakens, blood flow slows, and the erection struggles to form or collapses too soon. But here is where the miracle happens. Polyphenols repair that lining, restore nitric oxide production, and help those vessels open again with strength and flexibility. It's like turning back the clock on your circulation. There's another benefit most men never hear about. Olive oil helps stabilize testosterone and protects it from dropping due to inflammation. That means more desire, more stamina, more drive, the things every man fears losing. And unlike pills that force an artificial reaction, olive oil works with your body, rebuilding the system so erections come naturally, without fear, without pressure, without disappointment. I've watched men who nearly gave up rediscover hope when their blood vessels began waking up again. You can almost see the shift in their eyes, like someone turned the lights back on in a room that had been dark for years. Because once blood flow returns, everything changes. Confidence returns, connection returns, life returns. But here's the part that's truly shocking. Olive oil becomes even more powerful when combined with one unexpected ingredient that accelerates absorption and activates circulation almost immediately. When these two simple substances are blended, the effect can be dramatically faster than either one alone, and it's something most men would never guess. Let's talk about the surprising science behind baking soda and why, when combined with olive oil, it can lead to results many men begin feeling in just hours. Stay with me. This is where the chemistry becomes extraordinary. 4. The science behind baking soda. Most men would never imagine that something as simple and ordinary as baking soda could play a powerful role in restoring strong erections. It seems almost ridiculous at first. How could something you use to clean a coffee mug or soften cookie dough possibly help bring life back to your little guy? But here's the shocking truth. Baking soda has a unique ability to calm inflammation, neutralize acidity, and relax the smooth muscle tissues surrounding blood vessels. And when those muscles relax, blood can surge into the penis with speed and pressure, turning what once felt weak and unresponsive into something alive again. Think about what happens inside your body over the years. Every stressful day, every sleepless night, every heavy meal, every medication, every spike in blood sugar, all of it increases acidity and inflammation. That irritation doesn't just happen in your joints or your stomach. It happens inside your blood vessels, especially the smallest ones responsible for erections. They become swollen, narrow, and rigid, and suddenly blood can't move freely. It's like trying to push water through a hose that's pinched shut. No matter how much pressure you apply, nothing reaches its destination. And the worst part is that this process happens silently, long before the first moment you realize something isn't working the way it used to. This is where baking soda becomes extraordinary. When applied to the skin, it helps reduce surface inflammation and soothe irritated tissues. More importantly, it helps relax the smooth muscle fibers that surround the microarteries inside the penis, allowing them to widen and release the tightness that prevents proper circulation. The result is something many men describe as warmth, tingling, a sudden sense of fullness, as if the body is finally remembering what to do. It's not magic, it's physiology awakening from sleep. And here's where emotion enters the picture. I've seen men try this after years of disappointment, expecting nothing, protecting themselves from hope. And then they feel that first spark, the first sign of life returning. Their eyes change, their voices break, because it's not just an erection they're getting back, it's themselves. It's proof that they are still capable, still alive, still men in every sense of the word. But the real breakthrough comes when baking soda is blended with olive oil, creating a powerful synergy that activates blood flow rapidly and efficiently. Together, they don't just improve circulation, they can awaken it almost instantly. And the best part is how simple the method truly is. In the next section, I'll show you exactly how to use this combination step by step and how quickly many men begin to feel the change. Stay with me, because this is where theory becomes reality. 5. Why mixing them together creates instant results. What if I told you that when you blend olive oil and baking soda, something happens that can trigger an almost immediate awakening in your erection ability? Not tomorrow, not next week, but sometimes within minutes. You might think that sounds exaggerated or too good to be true, but the truth is far more powerful than skepticism. These two ingredients, when combined, create a reaction that rapidly stimulates blood flow, quiets inflammation, and reactivates the erectile response in a way that many men describe as nothing short of stunning. This isn't some internet myth, and it isn't wishful thinking. It's biology working the way it was designed to work, once you remove the blockages that have been holding it back. When olive oil penetrates the skin, its polyphenols begin repairing the endothelial lining of the tiny arteries inside the penis, the very structure responsible for opening blood vessels and allowing pressure to build. At the same time, baking soda begins to neutralize surface acidity and relax the smooth muscle tissue surrounding those vessels. But when these two elements meet, something extraordinary happens. The olive oil acts as a carrier, transporting the baking soda deeper into the tissue where it can act faster and more effectively. The reaction creates what many describe as a warmth, a rush, a swelling, an unmistakable signal that blood is moving again. For a man who hasn't felt that sensation in months or years, that moment hits with the emotional force of a lightning strike. I've seen men grip the edge of a chair, unable to speak, because the first wave of sensation brought back memories they thought were gone forever. I've seen faces soften, shoulders lift, and eyes fill with tears, not because of pain, but because of relief. Because after years of feeling powerless, their body responded. It listened. It woke up. This is why the combination can feel instant. You're not forcing an artificial reaction like a pill does. You're clearing the doorway. You're giving the blood permission to return. You're reminding the body of something it already knows how to do. And that's why so many men report dramatic changes the first time they try this. Not just physically, but emotionally. Because for the first time in a long time, hope stops feeling like a lie. Now that you understand how powerful this combination can be, the next question becomes the most important one. How do you use it correctly to experience the fastest and safest results? What is the exact method that makes the difference between disappointment and transformation? That's what we're about to reveal next, step by step. 6. How to use it. Step-by-step guide. Let me say something that may shock you right away. The difference between success and disappointment with this method has nothing to do with luck, and everything to do with how you apply it. I have watched men try thousands of dollars worth of medications, injections, and treatments only to feel defeated and ashamed when nothing changed. And then I have watched the very same men experience a breakthrough simply because they finally learned how to apply a solution the right way, carefully, intentionally, and with understanding instead of desperation. This isn't about rubbing something on and hoping for a miracle. It's about activating a physiological response that has been asleep but not dead. To begin, you don't need fancy equipment, exotic supplements, or complicated procedures. All you need are 2 ingredients and a few quiet minutes. Start by mixing 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil with 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda until the blend turns into a smooth, creamy paste. The transformation begins in that moment, but the real power comes from what happens next. Warm the mixture slightly in your hands and apply it gently to the penis, slowly massaging from the base upward, paying attention to every inch as if you are reminding your body that it still belongs to you. Massage for 2 to 3 minutes, not rushing, not forcing, just allowing the body to awaken. Then, leave the mixture on for 10 to 15 minutes so the ingredients can penetrate and begin opening the blood vessels that supply the erectile chambers. Finally, rinse with warm water and let the sensation settle in. What you may feel next is something many men describe with disbelief. A rising warmth, a tingling, a sudden swelling, a fullness they haven't felt in years. For some, it happens gradually like a sunrise. For others, it hits quickly, like someone flipped a switch inside the body. Either way, the message is the same. Life is returning. And with each use, 3 or 4 times per week, the results become stronger, steadier, more reliable. Confidence returns. Hope returns. Intimacy becomes something to look forward to again instead of something to fear. This process is not about magic. It is about science meeting patience, effort meeting biology, and a man choosing not to surrender. Because once you feel the first change, even the smallest one, everything becomes possible again. And if you're wondering what kind of results real men report after trying this, what truly happens in their marriages, in their hearts, and inside their bodies, what comes next may surprise you. Let's talk about what men are experiencing when they commit to this method, and why their stories matter more than any promise. 7. Expected results. What men report experiencing. Let me start with a reality that might shock you. Some men who had gone months or even years without a firm erection felt noticeable changes the very first time they tried this method. Imagine that for a moment. Imagine waking up the next morning and realizing something is different, feeling a warmth, a heaviness, a fullness you thought was gone forever. The kind of feeling that makes you stop and ask yourself, could this really be happening? Men who once accepted defeat have told me they felt their bodies responding in a way they hadn't experienced since their 40s, as if someone reached inside and switched the power back on. That moment is powerful, not just physically, but emotionally, because it's not just an erection returning, it is a part of the soul returning. I have heard men describe the sensation in incredible detail. A slow building pressure, a pulse they hadn't felt in years, a firmness they thought they would never get back. For some, it happened suddenly, like a spark catching flame. For others, it was more gradual, like watching life return to a field after a long winter. But in nearly every case, that first sign was enough to change everything. Enough to make them believe again. Enough to dry the tears they never spoke about. Enough to look at their partner differently, no longer with fear or shame, but with anticipation and pride. And what follows next is equally profound. Confidence begins to return, not the loud kind, but the quiet strength that comes from knowing your body still works. Relationships begin to soften, walls begin to fall. Couples who stopped touching each other rediscover the warmth of closeness. I've seen men walk into my office taller, shoulders back, eyes brighter, transformed not just by blood flow, but by hope. Hope is a powerful medicine. It can heal even the deepest wounds. Many men report that after a few uses, morning erections begin to reappear, those natural, effortless signs of vitality that disappeared long ago. Some say intimacy lasts longer. Some say sensation returns. Some say they feel young again. And when a man feels that, something inside his spirit awakens that no pill can manufacture. Because this is not a forced reaction. It is the body remembering itself. So the question becomes, if these results are possible for men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s, what could happen for you? And what do real transformation stories look like when a man refuses to quit and starts fighting for his life back? In the next section, I want to share a story that may touch you more deeply than anything you've heard so far. It might sound unbelievable, until you realize it could be your story too. Let me introduce you to a man whose journey proves what is possible when you refuse to surrender. 8. Safety warnings. Who should avoid this? Before we go any further, I need to say something that might shock you, because it's the part most people ignore. Not every man should use this method, and using it incorrectly can do more harm than good. Too many men get excited when they hear about a natural solution and rush into it with blind hope, thinking nothing could possibly go wrong because the ingredients come from the kitchen. But that's a dangerous assumption. Just because something is natural does not mean it is automatically safe for everyone. And the last thing I want is for a man who is already hurting to end up feeling worse because no one warned him about the risks. If you have open cuts, irritation, rash, or broken skin anywhere on the penis, you must wait until those areas heal before applying anything. Applying even the mildest substance to damaged tissue can burn, sting, and cause real injury. If you've ever had sensitive skin or you know you react strongly to household products, be honest with yourself. Protect your body. Do a patch test first on your inner arm. Pain is not the goal. Pain means stop. The same caution applies if you have a known allergy to sodium bicarbonate or to olive oil. Allergies can cause swelling, redness, itching, and dangerous immune reactions. And for men taking nitrate-based heart medications, such as nitroglycerin or isosorbide, understand this clearly. Combining anything that increases blood flow with those medications can drop your blood pressure to dangerously low levels. This is not a minor warning. I have seen men end up in emergency rooms because they ignored this truth. If you are unsure, speak to your doctor. Your safety matters more than any shortcut. And I say this with respect and compassion. Pride should never be the reason you get hurt. Too many men are willing to risk their health out of desperation or embarrassment because they don't want anyone to know they're struggling. But the strongest men I know are the ones who protect themselves and move carefully, wisely, and deliberately. Now, here's the important part that brings everything full circle. When this method is used correctly, when the skin is healthy and the body is compatible, something incredible can happen, But when used irresponsibly or in the wrong context, the results can be the opposite. This is why understanding who should and should not use it is just as crucial as knowing the method itself. Because once you use it safely and correctly, something far more powerful begins to change, not just physically, but emotionally. And if you're wondering what that transformation actually looks like in real human lives, what it feels like to turn fear into relief and hope into reality, then what comes next might move you more deeply than anything you've heard so far. Let me tell you the story of a man who walked into my office carrying a weight heavy enough to break anyone, and what happened when he refused to give up. 9. A real transformation story. Let me begin with a story that may shake you, because it reveals the brutal emotional reality behind erectile struggles in a way statistics never could. Several months ago, a 72-year-old man named James walked into my office. He didn't sit down right away. He stood near the door with his shoulders shaking, eyes red, breathing uneven, trying desperately to hold himself together. And then, in a voice so quiet I could barely hear it, he said, "Doctor, I think I've lost my wife. Not because she wants to leave me, but because I can't be a husband anymore." This was a man who had survived heart surgery, raised 3 children, worked 40 years without ever taking a day off. Yet nothing broke him like the night he held his wife in his arms and his body failed him. He told me he saw the hurt in her eyes, not because she blamed him, but because she felt like she wasn't wanted anymore. That moment destroyed him. He said waking up the next morning felt like waking up inside an empty world. He stopped initiating affection. He stopped smiling. He stopped believing there was anything left to fight for. For months, he tried everything he could find: pills that made his head pound, supplements that promised miracles and delivered nothing, exercises that left him more frustrated than before. He started sleeping facing the edge of the bed so he didn't have to feel the distance forming between them. He said the silence became louder than any argument they ever had. And then his voice cracked when he whispered, "I just want to feel like a man again, one more time. I want to look into her eyes and not feel ashamed." I could see the weight pressing down on him, a weight many men carry in secret because they don't know where to put the pain. I taught him the method I'm sharing with you right now. He didn't believe it would work. He was afraid to hope again, but he tried. And 2 weeks later, he came back into my office, not trembling, but smiling. He sat down straight, looked me in the eye, and his voice was steady when he said, "It happened. We held each other like we used to. She cried. I cried. I got myself back." I watched a 72-year-old man become 25 again in spirit because the moment he felt his body return, his identity returned with it. And that is why this matters. It is not just about sex. It is about dignity, connection, belonging, and the man you know you still are. So if one man at 72 can rise again after losing nearly everything to silence and shame, imagine what could happen for you now that you know the truth. Because what comes next may be the most urgent message any man over 60 needs to hear: why delaying action could cost you more than you realize, and why waiting is the most dangerous choice you can make. Let's talk about why you must act now, before it's too late. 10. Urgency. Why you must act now. Here is the shocking truth most men never hear until it's too late. Every single day you go without strong erections. The blood vessels inside your penis continue to shrink, harden, and weaken. This isn't a theory, it's a medical fact. The longer those tiny arteries stay closed, the more permanent the damage becomes. Nerves lose sensitivity. Tissue begins to atrophy. The erectile chambers slowly lose their ability to expand the way they once did. And that means the longer you wait, the harder the road back becomes. It is not time that takes a man's strength away. It is inaction. It is postponing. It is hoping someone else will fix it while nothing changes. Eventually, the body stops fighting for what the heart still desperately wants. Most men don't realize how quickly this decline happens. They think they have time. They think, maybe next month, maybe after the stress is gone, maybe when I feel more confident, but next month becomes next year. And before they know it, what could have been reversible becomes a lifelong regret. I have seen marriages suffocate in silence because a man kept waiting for the right moment. I have seen men avoid their wives' eyes because they were afraid those eyes might hold disappointment or pity. I have seen men lose years they can never get back simply because they were too ashamed to take action when hope was within reach. No pill can fix that. No excuse can justify it. There are moments in life when you either stand up or surrender, and this is one of them. Because here is the truth that should stop you in your tracks. You are not losing time. Time is losing you. And unless you do something now, right now, you risk waking up one day knowing you let the greatest part of yourself slip away. The part that loves, the part that takes pride, the part that leads, protects, and stands tall. You deserve more than surviving. You deserve to feel alive again. You deserve to feel wanted again. You deserve to feel like a man again. And that can begin with something so simple it almost feels unfair. 2 ingredients, a few minutes, and the courage to try. So ask yourself right now, not tomorrow, not later tonight. Are you willing to fight for your body, for your relationship, for your dignity? Because what comes next could be the difference between reclaiming everything you fear you've lost or watching it slip further away. Stay with me, because in just a moment, I'll show you exactly how to turn this knowledge into results, how to take the next step that separates those who rise from those who disappear. This is the moment where everything changes. Let's finish this together. Conclusion: the beginning of your comeback. If you've listened closely to every word we've shared today, then you already know the truth that most men never get the chance to hear. Your story is not over. What you are experiencing is not the end of your manhood, your intimacy, your confidence, or your purpose. It is simply the moment where you decide whether you are going to surrender to fear and silence, or whether you will rise and take control of your body again. Thousands of men over 60, 70, even 80 have proven that powerful, natural erections are still possible when blood flow is restored and when a man refuses to give up on himself. You have learned why erections fade, why the emotional weight is so heavy, and why the solution is closer than anyone ever told you. You have seen the science behind olive oil and baking soda, and how together they can wake up circulation with astonishing speed. You have heard real stories of men who came back from the edge of hopelessness, and you have faced the reality that waiting is the most dangerous choice you can make. Today, you have something rare, a path forward, a chance to feel alive again, a chance to take action instead of hiding behind excuses and fear. So I want you to ask yourself one final question before this video ends. What kind of man do you want to be from this moment forward? The man who watches life shrink around him, or the man who stands up and fights for what matters? Because I can guide you, I can teach you, I can show you the next steps that have transformed so many lives, but I cannot take the step for you. That is yours alone. If you are ready to reclaim yourself, stay with me for the next part. I'm about to reveal the 30-second exercise and the breathing technique that can double blood flow and lock in long-term results. This is where the real transformation begins. Let's continue.